Hi everyone, my name is Ross, and you are here with Talk with Ross. Today we have a special guest called Charlie. So, Charlie, please introduce yourself to the guest, please.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Charlie, and I am from the United States, Texas, and I also struggle with, mental health, emotional intelligence, and really overcoming trauma. So,
I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to be on the podcast and everything. I don't know what time it is over there. I don't know what the weather is like over there. I'm assuming it's mediocre weather.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty decent. Clouds are up, and whatnot. Not too hot, so that's great. Especially
Not,
for
not
Texas.
too cold.
Yeah,
So,
definitely feels good.
you you just mentioned about your mental health, obviously, before we came onto the podcast and everything, before we hit record, and just want to dive into a bit of that. So, can you allude more onto your mental health side of things, please?
Yes. So, man, I guess maybe like kind of to start like where it all began. Um, so I was like 28 because I'm 32 now, 27 actually. Because it's on the other side. Like I just turned 27, I guess, and then like throughout that year. Anyway, um, so my mom, right? My mom and dad. I realized that I went to the military, got out, and around this time, 27, I was really hitting kind of a low point. And to really summarize it all up, me and the woman I was with, we stayed with my mom for a little while, and her house wasn't even livable. So she was a hoarding. So like I'm talking about, like if you go watch the show Hoarders on any platform, that's pretty much what it was like. So her house was unlivable. So it was me, her, and my dog, and my fiance or wife now, but fiance at the time, and we stayed in a little pop up camper. So like bed, like little like kitchenette thing, another bed. We stayed like that for like 2 months. So yeah, I started asking these questions. Why is my mom the way she is? Why, why do I do what I do? Like what makes me me? I started like really breaking these things down, and it ultimately got me back to realizing that there was so much I had to break down over the years of limiting beliefs, like lies that I believed that I thought were true. And it was basically built on a foundation of lies, but it was complex trauma, childhood trauma, and basically the maladaptive behaviors that I had learned to try to get my needs met, basically from toxicity.
Yeah. No, do you know what's it's quite shocking as well? The fact that you've mentioned about the military, and I had a gentleman on previously. He was ex-military, and he spoke about some stuff with mental health and being in the military as well, and um, spoke about like how it's not really maintained in the military. Now I don't know like what it is like in America for like military and everything, but over here in the UK apparently there's not really, it's not really looked after. Um, and I think it's quite sad, and I think it's really I think it's appalling because
Mhm.
you're doing your duty to protect your country. You're fighting for us, and you're serving justice as well. And if you're not feeling the best mentally, how can you perform the best physically? Do you know what I mean? So, like, what was it like for your mental health side of things whilst you was in the military? I mean, was it looked after, or was it dismissed, or
Yeah, it wasn't really looked after. I think if anything, it was judged without awareness. Like there was no acknowledgement of, right? Like there was no you know, like there would be maybe like questions and stuff, but it was never like directly, encountered. But even back then, for me, I didn't even understand it. Like I was so like oblivious to that kind of stuff. Like I was 19, 20 at the time. But it was like I had no idea of any type of emotional intelligence or even like resilience. Like, I was really selfish, honestly, but I thought I was not being selfish, right? Like I thought I was caring about people, but I really wasn't, based off the lies I believed.
Mm. No, it's like I just said then. Obviously, it's quite sad, and obviously, if people are dismissing it in the army, it's terrible, and
Hmm.
I'm just I'm really shocked with you know how how they look after you in the army, because I thought when you're in there, you're well looked after, and I know
Hmm.
to a degree you are looked after. You're fed properly. Um, you know,
Hmm.
obviously you're looked after in other ways, but I just can't believe how frowned upon it is in the army and the military. Or well, obviously they're both the same thing, but I don't know what you went into. I'm assuming it's to do with REF, is it? Not REF. What is it? The one?
So I was in the army.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I was in the army, and I was just regular infantry at the time, and
Oh, I remember the planes in the background.
oh yeah, yeah, no, so I have a completely different job now, and
ah,
so I technically actually kind of work for the government, so to speak, but
ah,
civilian side. Yeah,
yeah,
and I'm traveling, so this is like I'm staying at like an Airbnb, so
man,
not
man.
even my house.
So you just rented someone else's house for
Yeah,
the time
yeah,
being. Hey, well,
pretty much.
it beats a motorhome, I suppose.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I can imagine. I can imagine. So, like, what was it like in the motorhome as well? Because obviously, I'm assuming you was quite cramped, or was it a spacious one?
Oh no, so you talk about the pop up that I lived in, like with my mom and them.
Yeah, yeah, the pop up.
So, dude, yeah, no, I literally call it a pop up because it's one of those. It was one of those that you have to crank up and then it folds out. So it was literally like bed, like a little platform for a bed to go on. There was a bed that like it was actually like a little like kitchen table thing that folded into a bed, and
Yeah,
then there was a kitchenette with like a little mini fridge. There was the door, and then another bed. So that's how cramped it was whenever we were like actually there. Um, because I was helping her try to fix up the house. It was like my one of my childhood homes. I only had like two, honestly, three technically, but because we moved a couple times. But man, it was just there was so much to unpack that I didn't realize that I not only avoided, but just dismissed totally. Because like our brains are wired a certain way, and I had to learn that even. But it's like, you know, we have to seek it out. I feel like, and just like this, right? Like it's we have to come to the point to realize that like not only do we not know everything, which is completely obvious, but we have to get to that point to where it's not just you know I'm only going to choose to love myself, but it's that I love not just for myself, but I love because I understand what it is to feel pain. I understand the heartbreak. I understand not knowing something or being ignorant of it. And and that doesn't even speak to like being less than. It speaks to the simple fact that like we're human beings, not human doings. So we have to try to be something, but not based off of like performance. Like I have to earn it, but because I am valuable. Because like my life does mean something, but what does my life mean? But that was one of the biggest things that really started me on that journey was why was my mom this way? Why could I not help her? Why would she not allow me to help her? Why did she choose to live this way? And then ultimately, why was I treated the way I was as a child? Because like it was so hard. Like, and I had so much anger I had to deal with too, because it's like, you're caretakers, right? Like we don't choose who our parents are, right? But like,
yeah,
the, you know what I mean? Like, what do you do as a child, right? An innocent child, and you have to look up to this person that is not healthy, but then they teach you everything, and then you have to learn how to adapt and change and unlearn behaviors that we learned from an unhealthy environment. And even the people that were like literally the most dear to us. So man, I'm telling you, it's been a lot. Even now today, sometimes I don't have words to just express not only what I've been through, but even how I've overcome certain things. Because I'm still along that journey of trying to master something that, is always changing.
Oh yeah, and I like what you said about like the human beings and we're just humans doing stuff.
Hmm.
I like that bit of a quotation. So how did you adjust from like being in the army to Civvy Street as I call it? How did you
Um,
adjust?
for me, I grew up in a sense in certain ways, but also it was like I was still in survival mode, right? Like
Mm,
I have to do this. I need to get this done. I was like, my dad was a workaholic, so I followed in his footsteps technically, and I just started working, and then I got burnt out, and it took years, like 4 or 5 years, even after that. You know what I mean? To finally break down to that point of realization, of what actually I needed to do because it was difficult. But I mean, I went in a path to where like I was just falling into things and just trying to figure stuff out. But it was like nothing I did, uh, you know, was good enough, so to speak. And that ultimately led me to faith, and and just my whole family was literally a part of faith. So I suffered spiritual abuse, spiritual bypassing, but I mean, I still believe it, like today. So it's crazy how like deconstruction and all of that has brought me to where I am now, because it was bumpy. I'm not gonna lie, it was very very bumpy. There needs to be more awareness brought to it, because ultimately, to me, it feels like we need better leaders, but who's going to do that? Like we have, it starts with us. It starts with us like being what we needed.
mm. Oh yeah, I feel you on that one. It's
Yeah, it's bro. I mean, I
some of
get
the
teary
stuff
eyed,
like
man.
I'm
I don't
really
know. I
like
don't know.
trying to process everything because like what you're saying is just it's really deep, and I'm sat here like getting heartfelt and emotional. I'm like, wow, man, I'm tearing up here, like hearing hearing your story and you know
Yeah.
hearing what you've been through, and you said like your childhood wasn't the best. I mean,
Hmm.
are you comfortable talking about your childhood, or is
Oh
it?
yeah, yeah. I'm completely comfortable with being as open as you would like because like I'll be on here crying and professing my heart because I understand what it's like to have no one there to listen and hear or be understood. You know what I mean? So it's like the fact that people would be willing to come here to listen and feel that and resonate, even for their own like just like not to have to be alone.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because they're seeking that out, right? Like that. That's why people come to, and that's why people listen to podcasts now. That's why people want the information. That's why people want the knowledge, is because it's better than having nothing, hopeless and alone.
yeah,
And see, and the reason why I say certain things is, and even in my head, it's reminding me of scripture because not only do I studied it and I was like, what is truth? What is love? Like I say these things all the time, but what does it mean? So I had to seek it out, and in Proverbs, man, Proverbs is just huge. But whenever God even made man, like if you look in Genesis, it's not good for man to be alone. Which I mean, it's kind of obvious, but you know, whenever you really boil it down to like why that's the case, you know what I mean? Like it's disconnection. It's death.
yeah.
That's what being alone really is. So
It's hard being alone as well, and I can vouch for many people because I'm alone myself, and when it comes to mental health as well, and when I say alone, I don't mean alone just like a relationship or family
mhm.
or a loved one or stuff like that, but it's just like alone in your mind, And
Mm-hmm.
I totally get that, because I can sit in my room, and I'll just sit in my room for days, and I just feel so alone. I just feel like there's no one around me, no one supporting me. But I know for a fact I've got support, and it's so frustrating, because I know I've got like my family and everything. I've got people who I can phone and go, look, I'm struggling. I need to get out. Can you come meet me for a coffee or something? But I've spoken previously about this on my podcast, and the times that I hate is nighttime and when I'm in the shower, because they're the two times I get deep in thoughts and deep in my mind.
Yeah.
And especially when you're in the shower, or if you're having a bath, or you've got that like 5 to 10 minutes alone time, and you're like, your mind just goes off on its own little thing, and it's a little adventure, and then you're thinking about stuff, thinking about good times, bad times, thinking about family, thinking about the family that you've got, family that you've lost, friends that you've got, friends that you've lost, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
spirals out, and you think, fuck, man, like,
Yeah.
and then you come back and you're like, how did I get to this stage where I'm at in my life right now? Like,
Yeah.
I'm I'm 31 soon. I'm in a
Mm-hmm.
in a well, the class is at a homeless shelter, but I'm in a sheltered accommodation, and it's not the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm open with everyone, and I'll be open with anyone as well. Like, it's a dump here. It's a shithole. Hate it. Can't wait
Yeah.
to get out of it, because at the moment it's dragging me down,
Mm-hmm.
and you know it's shit. But you know, doing this podcast gives me gives me enjoyment, fulfillment, because I get to speak to people like yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
know, who've gone through stuff, who are real, and they want to tell the story, so other people can tune into the podcast, and you're like, you know what, Charlie fucking gave me some useful information, or he said something about his past, and it's really hit home, and you know that's what it's all about, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Man. Oh, sorry. I didn't want to cut you off.
I'm not fine. Go on, go on. I was going to ask you something, but I'll ask you after you finished.
Okay. I was just gonna speak to what you were saying, man, because it's like, it resonates. Because I mean, bro, I'm not there now, but I've been there,
Yeah.
right? Like to have to be somewhere you don't want to be, like literally, and then have people judge you or blame you for being there.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't you just do this, or why can't you just do this? Like, I'm trying everything. Obviously, you're not wanting to help. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm doing everything I can, but it's like in those moments, and this is why I'm a believer, right? Like, I guess this is why I'm a believer in you can say whatever doctrine you want. I believe in an actual God, right? I believe in an actual father, a perfect father. Because what does a perfect father look like? We haven't ever seen one. So we only have our imagination, but we also have what he's said and how he does it. But we have to realize our biases play a role, and our trauma plays a role in how we interpret things. So whenever he says, "Trust in the Lord in all your ways, and lean not on your own understanding, he will set your path straight." I can specifically tell you that my life has been set straight. Like, and it's still being straighter. Like, it's getting straighter, like, in a sense, right? So, like, I, now I'm at a job that basically pays for my housing. I have a wife and a current baby, and then she's also pregnant again. But also, I have, when I was living my own way, I have two other baby mamas that I don't get to see those kids really that much, as much as I would like to. So, but this is what I'm saying, the change that has happened once I started having faith, but trusting and coming to the end of myself and stop trying, right? But start being and then doing from being. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is because it's the difference from letting our pain become anger that produces hate and disconnection and separation, or letting our pain become love, which would be change, correction, and repentance.
Mm.
Because if I love someone enough to allow them to hurt me, but still want what's best for them because I want them to change, correct, and repent, or even repent, the real word in Hebrew means metanoeo, and that means a turn, a change in direction, a 180-degree turn, right? A mindset and thinking of how you do things. So the way I even broke down the Bible is like, this is motivation.
Yeah.
Like I need to not just become out of performance because I have to do this, but if I start loving something, that's going to produce something better inside me, which is inspiration, not motivation. So now I'm creating from a sense of love rather than destroying things from a sense of hate.
Yeah. I mean, that's again, taught some real deep stuff.
I know, sorry, bro. It's just, bro.
No,
I'm telling you, the
it's fascinating.
deepness is from the pain.
No, I really enjoy it because this is what I love doing. Like, I love having conversations with people
Yeah,
like yourself because, like, you
same.
know, you get into some like deep conversation and it's just like, it just blows your mind. And
Yeah.
it's like what you were just saying then about like, having all that anger and, all that
Hmm.
sort of stuff. Because if you've got all that anger, all that hatred inside of you, you're gonna go on the wrong path, and that's what you
Yeah.
don't want to do. But like
Yes.
when you find, you know, loving yourself and care for yourself and care
Hmm.
for others, then you'll be put on the right path. And
Hmm.
once you start, changing yourself, and like
Hmm.
I don't believe in God or anything, so I apologize in
Hmm.
advance if I offend you or anything
Yeah,
with
no,
what
it's fine.
I say.
Yeah, you're good, bro. Yeah.
But like I don't believe in that. But what I do believe in some of the stuff that you just said then, and you know,
Hmm.
I can resonate with it really, really well because I've been on the wrong path. I I
Hmm.
was I was a cunt basically, but I changed my
Same.
ways. I changed my ways because I met a woman and she was like, I don't like a guy who does X, Y, Z. So I was like, okay, I'll stop being
Hmm.
that guy and I'll be a different guy. So I changed for
Hmm.
someone and we had a kid together. We're no longer together no more, but I see my kid every weekend. I'm there for my
Hmm.
kid whenever he needs me. And,
Hmm.
you know, I used to be an ass, like I said, and I've changed so much. And again, it's just like I feel old when I say it. Like back when I was young, back when I was young. I'm
Yeah.
nearly 31. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back when I was a teenager, and I did this, I did that, and I was up to no good. But it's just like what you say with the wrong and right path. Learn to love, and
Mhm.
help each other, help others, help each, and you know, again, this is what the podcast is for because we're talking.
Mhm.
I might say something that might hit home with someone. You might say something that will hit home with someone, and
Mhm.
that's what we want to do. We would just want to help people and repent them from whatever it
Yeah.
is. Again, I'm not
Yeah.
religious or anything, but
Mhm.
I get about doing my stuff, and I like
Yeah.
I like to
Oh,
talk to
bro.
people who are open minded like yourself, and they don't force
Mhm.
stuff on you. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
nice to have these
Dude,
conversations.
man, I 100% agree, right? So I actually love having conversations with in the same boat, right? With people who even disagree sometimes because it helps me really break down what I believe,
Yeah,
right? Because it's like I'm not so held tight to beliefs because I knew I used to believe a lot of lies. But now it's like now that I know the lies from the truth, you can tell the difference, right? But it's not just how things differ, it's really what they have in common
yeah,
that brings it together. And it makes it so deceiving to believe a lie sometimes because it's just that little bit off of a truth that that it gets brushed off, so to speak. So I don't blame anyone, or I don't even attack people for what they believe or don't believe. Like because even Jesus, whenever he was on the cross, he said, "Forgive them, for they don't know what they do." And it's like, okay, so it was just like me when I was stuck in my pain. I didn't know why I was in pain. I didn't. I just knew I was in pain, and my brain was just trying to do whatever it needed to do to survive, and to seek comfort, to seek something to stop this immediate pain. So it wanted me to immediately get gratification. So alcohol, drinking, whatever the case may be, any type of substance, anything that I would seek out, or in my case, it was the fact that my mom was the way she was, and I never got the motherly love I needed. So I started seeking validation and approval by a lot of women. And I'm talking about like mass amounts. Like I had like four, at one point, I had like four different dating sites, and I would just constantly scroll, no matter what I was doing, and just swipe right. And I didn't care who it was. I would just do whatever it was to get that kind of
About like
approval, right? And that's what I'm saying. So it's addiction, bro. Addiction is like I need this. I have to have it because, but that's what I get. People don't really get is addiction is an unchecked emotional. Um, I don't even know what the word would be, but like literally just a pit, an
mm,
emotionless pit that you're trying to fill. Because that's what your emotions are. If you really want to break it down, is it's a hit of dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and other endorphins that go to your brain because it's a chemical reaction based off of your thoughts, right? And your body being broken down. And it's like, I wouldn't even know any of this unless my pain literally brought me to the end of myself to seek why do I do what I do? Why is my mom the way she is? Why am I living in a freaking camper with a dog and my girl? Like why do I have these issues? Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on now. Like, finances. Like, I can't afford my own place. Like, I can't do this. Like, so trust me, bro. it's you know,
it gets harder.
I know that now definitely lies,
Yeah,
huh?
I was just saying it gets hard before it gets easier, and
Oh yeah.
and a
So
lot
I
of
think
people.
our oops, sorry. I think our pain. So this is something that I've gotten, and it challenges a lot of people's beliefs, so to speak. And that's what I feel like I'm supposed to do is be a better leader, but to be someone bold enough to face the lies regardless of the criticism.
Yeah,
Right. So, and even, and that's what Jesus even said, if they hated you, they hated me first. And if he was the way, the truth, and the life, then I mean, it makes sense because it's like people are comfortable in their lies. And then whenever you come and bring some friction to that, because iron sharpens iron, no, get away from me. I don't want you. Like, I'm comfortable living my lie. You know what I mean? Okay. So, but the whole point is like, no matter what kind of criticism and harsh reaction I might get based off of someone's beliefs that they have, that person is still a human being. And they still have a choice and they still have a will and they can change regardless of what they're going through and in because I've been there and I know that in order for someone to change, they need to be loved. Because you can't anger someone out of change or make them change. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're just going to destroy each other.
mm,
Mutual destruction. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, dude, how do I take this anger and deal with it? Like grief, all of this stuff, and like how do I transform that? And it's like, bro, like that's where you need a perfect father, honestly, for me, like, because I didn't have one. That's a whole nother story, the narcissistic abuse from my workaholic father. You know what I mean? And then even the spiritual abuse from my faithful religious family, because it's like they believed lies, and it's like, oh, Holy Spirit. Well, I mean, do you really know the Holy Spirit? Like, do you really know this God you claim to know? Because it doesn't seem like that's him. You know what I mean? So I get people even that are atheists because it's like, man, I've been to churches and I feel more hated than, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, not one person has the right answer. I feel like we have to go outside of ourselves to do that. And it's everyone coming together in humility and love to achieve that unity.
and again, I reckon with, like what you said there as well because a friend of mine, he was a churchgoer, and his family was like really strict on that sort of belief and going to church, and there was like, oh, our church is having this, sort of like get together you're more than welcome to come down. And I was like, I feel really, I feel really honoured that you want me to come down and everything, but I'm in a tracksuit and everyone's going to be wearing jeans and the shirts and the suits and the women are going to be all dressed up and everything, and I'm just going to be there. Like, I turned up in a black tracksuit, black body warmer, my snapback on, tattooed up and everything. I pulled out this car, gone to the door, and I went to shake this guy's hand, and he just looked at me with absolute pure filth and disgust. I was like, and I thought, and I
Yeah,
thought,
no, it's like,
people respect everyone, you know. Don't don't
mm,
don't be judging everyone because that's what you believe in it. Like, if you're
mm-hmm.
one of these Christian people, and I'm like, well, you can't judge someone just because they're first appearance. And I just thought
Yeah.
it was wrong, and I just thought, you know what, to say you're a child of God and everything. Sorry for the quotation, but like,
Yeah, yeah, you're good.
they're
You're good.
saying like, oh, I'm a child of God, and I believe this and I believe that and X Y Z. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, isn't it in the Bible that that you're supposed to love everyone and all this sort of stuff? And
Mm-hmm.
you,
Yep.
you just
So,
looked at me and just took one
mm-hmm.
look at me and like, hmm, you know, just
So
got it in your head.
yeah, and bro, and I get that. Like I resonate and I feel what you're saying because I speak out against it. And I went to I went to a church that my family was like my cousin was the pastor. And
Mm,
then before that, I was a child and I went to a church that I really looked up to and respected this man. Like he was a special forces guy, retired, and it was like he was pretty awesome. So I mean, he was a good example, but I never was close enough with him to for it to make a change or do anything. And then also like so even when I was with going to the church that my cousin's a pastor of, like I mean, I sat in the front, but that's because I wanted to be in the front. Like if I'm not there, I want people to know I'm not there. But also at the same time, it's like I went in shorts. I would wear sandals and stuff like that because my cousin's church was like I guess like I mean I don't know how to really describe it honestly, but they're there to help people with addiction and they're to help like hey Jesus is here to meet you where you're at. But also at the same time, it's like even the Bible, it was written for different times, different things and moments, different cultures. Like even if we were to go, to onto the other eastern side, like further east, like in the desert or whatever. What I mean? Like everyone has different cultures, so things are different where you're at. So and then whenever you like change the language as well, there's different slang, there's different terms. So like my whole point with all that is like our life is constantly changing.
yeah,
So I think we also have to change the way that we interpret things. And that's why I think sometimes you might even have to read the Bible multiple times to really get what it's actually saying. Because in order to really fully understand something, we need this. We need experience, we need relatability, and we need a story. But we also need to be able to feel it. But so if we avoid our feelings and we suppress them and repress them, that becomes something dangerous. You know what I mean? Because I know I had a lot of repressed and suppressed anger that came out in a lot of negative ways,
yeah,
and that could be any emotion. You know what I mean? So but that's what I'm saying. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So you don't even realize what you're doing because also 95% of who you are is in your subconscious.
yeah,
So that means you're not aware of it. So literally, if my brain is this way and my heart is this way, and I don't know what I'm doing, that brings Ephesians 4:18. They're darkened in their understanding for the hardness of their heart because of the futility of their thinking. And it's like, boom, mind blown. Now it's like psychology. Holy crap, now I need to understand something else because this interpretation I had was totally foolish. You know what I mean? So yeah, and I don't blame anyone. I don't attack anyone because the whole point is love. I
yeah,
would not be able to sit here and have this conversation with you if I was not changed and transformed to be able to love differently and not only just learn this information, but I feel like I've been guided because there's been times where it's like you come into contact with something and it's like, oh, this is a quinky dink. No, or a coincidence. I say quinky dink. I think it's funny, but like it's like I try to still be silly, like even like this, like certified. Oh, here we go. Certified silly goose juice. Because we need that comic relief though sometimes because it relieves not just relieves the tension, but it gives us a little bit of like uh almost like heals, like it's like a band-aid for the moment,
Yeah.
for that emotional, like, oh my gosh, like this pain, like, why do you think stories and movies are so addicted on Netflix and Amazon? They pull you in, they get you drawn in by this story, but yet there's no change because it's over there, not here,
Yeah.
not here, right? It's out there. So we have to stop avoiding. And sometimes I feel like people run away and call it letting go. You know what I mean? So it's like we need to know and really kind of seek things, but also not judge, condemn, and destroy. Because even Jesus was confronting the Pharisees and Sadducees and called them, the religious leaders of the time, fathers, or their father was Satan. So they were being children of Satan, and Satan is the father of lies. So they believed lies because they were taught lies, and now they learned to live a lie. So
Yeah.
I think it's a lot bigger than what we actually think it is. And we need to get to the core. And not to keep running on this, because I'd love to have more of a conversation, not just a monologue. I'm sorry. But
No,
I know I hate doing that. I run on tangents. It's just my brain. But, take a brain fart. Sorry. I'm wired on silly goose juice. But, believe in lies. What was I about to say? Daggone it. Oh, well, it's fine. I'll just stop there. It'll probably come back or something.
but
So
like,
I get into that, man. I get into it, man. It's
no,
just,
no,
it's me. I have no script, right? This is me. It's genuine. It's authentic. And I heard this one thing that says, in order to achieve anything great, you got to be crazy.
well, that's
Because
it.
not everyone normal will be able to achieve something that's needed, so to speak. I guess, like, for a lot. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but it's nice to have this, back and forth conversation because I have nothing in front of me. There's no
Hmm.
script, nothing down here. Um, I'm just winging it from the conversation.
Yeah.
Prior to before,
Yeah.
prior to before I press that record button, I told you exactly how it's gonna run. I'll introduce the show. You
Yeah.
say something, I say something, back and forth, and that's how it's been basically. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
this is
Yes.
what I like to do. I don't like to, because some podcasts, they're like, oh, we'll talk about this topic only. I'm like, fuck that shit. Just
Hmm.
say whatever you want.
Yeah. Let's just
Just
Yeah, let's just go, like.
natural. Don't have to script anything.
Hmm.
If you swear, you swear. There's no bloopers on it or anything. The only thing I
Yeah.
do say is
Yeah.
just don't be racist or anything. And
Hmm.
religion, I don't mind religious talks or anything. Just don't push it on because people who tune in don't want to
Yeah. 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 I would never.
bash by it. So that's my only
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
all
People.
golden rules is them two. But anything else
Yeah.
goes. It's
Yeah.
easy going. But like I said, most podcasts are very, very scripted, and I don't like that. I like to just be
Yeah.
free flowing and go back and forth like we are doing. And
Yes.
what you mentioned as well, like with the comedy stuff as well, I think there should be more stuff like that in the world. More laughter and everything because everyone's just so serious, and it's just like with there's a lot of bad going on. People are losing loved ones, friends, families, etc. I woke up this morning to see a friend of mine. He passed away, and I was like, it was
Mm.
only bad, and I was
Dang.
like, just shocked. You know what I mean? Because I grew up with him, and I had memories with him, and it's just like didn't see him 24/7 and all that sort of stuff. But when I was a teenager, we used to go out drinking and parties, and you know, even though it was a small part of my life, they're still part of your life, no matter if it was big or small. And when you see something like that, it hits home, and it's a bit of a reality check and a wake up check, and it's like, "Ooh," I didn't know he was going through anything or if he was poorly or whatever, and
Mhm.
and when you were just talking about like laughter and everything, and you know, I really believe that, you know, it needs to be more out there. People shouldn't take life too seriously 24/7, all doom and gloom and mm, bottom lip hanging out.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, your life's too short. Do you know what I mean? Live it like
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow. That's what I say. There's no point in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting there talking about words of the wisdom and everything, saying like, "Oh, don't be sitting in your room and all doom and gloom." That's what I do pretty much. I just sit here. I'm like, going out, can't be asked doing this, can't be asked getting dressed, can't be asked doing that. I just cannot be asked today, and I just
uh,
pace up and down in my room, talking to myself.
yeah.
Can't be asked doing
Man,
anything.
that's and see that's why I feel like we need like I call it fellowship, but like the interaction, right? It would be that's also something just total, not sidestep. I'll come back to this, but like uh, basically the way things connect, and we need to have that exchange because I'm sitting here and I'll be talking to you, but I need to hear what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Right, but because it's just what you're saying is like you need to really say that to yourself sometimes. Like I know I do because I get the same exact way. I'll get so like, oh, I need to learn this. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to repeat. I'm trying to study. I'm trying to be consistent. I'm trying to do this. Always doing. But this is something that's really resonated with me, and it's like those statements. It really impactful statements, but it's like it's not just a statement because this is something that now is written on your heart, and it is bitterness. I said that, but no, busyness. Busyness. That's why I got it wrong. Busyness is basically the enemy to intimacy. So intimacy, in my definition, the way I've understood it, is seeing into me.
yeah,
So if I'm going to see into someone else, I can't be busy.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I have to slow down. I gotta like basically create time for them. You know what I mean? And like basically like give them time, energy. I'm stewarding, but I'm also like investing, and I'm also like that can be a sense of love, right? Like it can be a sense of like connecting. And even in Hebrew, there's 5 different um, words for love. There's I forget all of them. I'm gonna butcher them, but basically, one's for friends, one's for sex, one's for like your spouse. Another one is brotherly, and then there's a different one. I forget them all. Agape is like total love. But yeah, so just speaking to your point, it's like sometimes I literally have to tell myself things, or I have to basically reflect on a conversation and be like, I needed to really hear that. Like I needed to hear that. You know what I mean? But it's like you don't realize that, if we don't reflect.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I just want to say, just what I say, thank you for being on the podcast today and everything. Is there anything else you'd like to, you know, say before we wrap up?
Um, if anybody like this, like and share your page and get it out there for other people to hear and promote the podcast for any great more videos that are going to be coming out. And then also, if I could, I'd like to share my YouTube platform as well. And maybe I could, I'll share the link on my stuff as well. So mine is Crown and Compass. So on YouTube, it's Crown and Compass Coaching Podcast. Kind of a long drawn out thing, but I'm still rebranding and I'm just trying to get the videos out there now so people can see the newer content, not just the stuff I did like a year or 2 ago or whatever. But but yeah, so but yeah, that'd be it,
Yeah, no, I
and
said
then just let's be human beings that love.
human beings that are loving, not human doings, not loving.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, there you go. Here you go. Human beings that are loving, not human doings that are either full of anger or hate or just disconnection. I don't know. However you word that, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be a good statement.
But yeah, again, I just want to say a massive thank you for like coming on. Obviously, it was really short notice. The fact that you just commented on this on the
Yeah, heck yeah.
podcast, and I was like, yeah, just come on, you're more than welcome to. So Yeah,
Yeah, I love it, bro. I mean, hey, there's, plenty more opportunities, definitely I could be reoccurring, maybe.
yeah, most definitely. So I just want to
Yes,
say
sir.
thank you to everyone who has just tuned into this episode as well. And what I will do is anyone who wants to watch Charlie's podcast, I'm going to get his links off him in a few minutes and I'll put it onto the description of the video. And again, if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and get it out there. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.